Hi everyone, and welcome to another tech discussion by Royex Technologies. With over 10 years of experience in websites, mobile application, and e-commerce development, we are now discussing the formula to create a successful mobile application. Now, there are three key stages in this, being pre-development, development, and post-development. In our previous discussion, we covered the pre-development, where we went through the idea, the validity of the idea, as well as various other aspects in order to get to your project definition summary. So, what we're going to do in this discussion is cover the development component of it. Now, my name is Lee Pillay, and with me is Rajib Roy.
Hello everyone, I'm Rajib Roy. I'm running Royex Technologies last 10 years from 2013. And we have experience of working with several mobile applications. And the video what actually we are doing today is based on our experience. Last episode, what actually Lee said, we already explained actually the pre-development stage, and this time we are going to explain you the development stage. On the development stage, there is a lots of technical things there, and we are trying to avoid all technical terms so that you can easily understand, and trying to make it as easy as possible for you.
Okay, Rajib, I think this development stage is a very exciting one. It's really packed. There's a lot to actually unpack here, but it all starts with selecting the right development team, right? So I think a lot of companies or individuals will have the question, should I go with the development company? Should I go with a freelancer? Maybe Royex? Well, hold on, let's not throw that in there for now. But again, it is a common question. And there's a lot of different factors that needs to be taken into consideration here. Well, what's your thoughts in terms of some of these factors?
Yeah, that's true actually. What happened? So in a startup, so they are mainly actually hiring the freelancer. They actually have the tendency to hire the freelancer because the price is low. So whenever they are going for the company and they are going for the freelancer, the price the company giving is too high. They're not going to hire them. The main reason, because they don't have any strategy actually which kind of company or which kind of people they want to hire and how they want to monitor it, because they're the startup, they just newly started. And how they are starting, they are actually 1 or 2 person going to start a startup, and they're feeling that okay, 1 or 2 person can develop a project also. But in the next few moments, we are going to discuss the whole idea actually how to develop an application. Then we can actually find out that however to develop a mobile application, you need to develop an admin panel, you need to develop a database, you need to make an API, you need to make an Android and iOS application. How a single person or 1 or 2 person can finish everything? It's not possible. Even if it is possible, that means he is not good in anything. He knows everything, but he is not good, right? So that's actually the problem happen whenever you are hiring the freelancer. And another big problem. So in long run, whenever you are running the application, at that time, you need to upgrade your application in a regular basis, because the customer are demanding something new. You need to add some new feature, and you need to upgrade in a regular basis. So at that time, you can find actually a big barrier actually with a freelancer, because you don't have any certainty, and they don't know exactly how the market is running and how the user are behaving and how the attacker, attack your application. They don't know anything. They are just running some application. Look, I'm not against the freelancer. Lots of freelancers also work with us also sometimes. Yeah, they're good. But they're good in particular subject, not for the whole thing. Whenever you are developing a mobile application, it's actually everything you are developing, right? Yeah. It's not, you're not saying that, okay, develop an API for me from one freelancer. It's not like that.
Exactly.
Right? So that's actually the big mistake actually people are doing.
Yeah. I think not only that, not only between a development company and a freelancer, but big organizations would also need to pick between different development companies as well. Now, I think this is where they need to do the due diligence. Have a look at the client profile, right? Have a look at what is their portfolio of clients and projects that they have done. Yeah. Because that gives you a sense of trust and you understand that it's a credible organization. Yeah. There should be some good certifications in place, right?
Certification is one of the parts, just like we are the ISO certified. It's okay. It's good that, okay, we are ISO certified. We are actually following a certain rule, but that doesn't mean that actually we are actually developing a good project. The only way you can actually understand, the other company can understand that, okay, we are doing actually for which company we are working on and how many people our application is serving. So just check actually few of our application. Actually, they are serving more than 1 million of people. So that means 1 million of people are using our application, and the application is still running fine. That means we have the experience of actually delivering a project which can serve this amount of people. Look, in the technical thing, So whenever you are developing an application for 100 people and whenever you are developing an application for million people, the structure is completely different.
Yeah.
It's not the same structure. Yeah. Suppose in the same room, you are making actually one door and maybe 10 people can come easily. But whenever you are saying that 1,000 people come with the one door, it is not efficient. So you have to make the actually room with a multiple door and multiple ways so that it will be efficient. So that's the thing you need from the experience. Yeah.
Okay.
And also another one, actually, whenever a good company, when they develop a reputed application, what happens? They know all the issue they are facing. So when they are going to develop another same kind of application, they are not repeating the same kind of issue, same kind of error. Yeah. So that means you are taking their experience of actually what kind of bugs can be happen and you are fixing already. So that's why always is actually very important. You check the certification, that's actually one of the important part, but also check the experience on the related and how many people actually serving. I saw actually some company actually are coming with a very fancy application, looks very good, and they say animation is very fancy, and whatever you see, it looks actually something awesome. But it doesn't mean that okay, they're the good one. It depends actually whenever load will come, whenever huge traffic will come, how their application will be, and so that's very important.
Yeah, I think this is just a critical element, which is, the right development team. But once you've got the right development team, now you need to get into the other stages, which is sharing of ideas and monitoring progress.
Yes.
Because, again, we spoke about this in the pre-development side in terms of the project summary documentation, which enables you to communicate,
Share the idea with the developers.
Exactly, because developers think in a certain way. You yourself, I know, is a developer, but ultimately, I mean, you've got the business expertise as well. But what I'm trying to say is, in order to communicate what you have in your mind, you need to be able to share that and share the logic, right? The logic of what you're trying to achieve.
So what happened here? So whenever we are talking as a business-minded people, yeah, so we have a business speech, yeah. So that document is different. So how it will do the business, what is the process and everything. But whenever you are talking with the technical people, whenever you are sharing your idea, you have to talk in something different way. So what we are using, we are using actually use case diagram. With diagram, if you see actually on this diagram, you can actually feel that actually it is actually a e-commerce business use case diagram. Here you can see there is a purchase side is there, information side is there, seller side is there, and there is different user is there, the client is there, warehouse is there, agent is there, seller is there, and how they are flowing, how their movement is flowing, you can actually see from this diagram. So this kind of diagram we have to prepare actually for the design, for the developer, so they understand it. Sometimes it is not actually that okay, the startup or the owner can do it. So they have to talk with the developer, they have to sit with them, and they have to actually create this kind of diagram to explain them properly how the user flow, the flow will go, how the project will be going to finish.
Yeah.
So that is very important.
Yeah, because it is only you as the business owner that fully would understand what that operation is going to look like, right? So, but once we've got that in place, now it's down to the next element, which is selecting the right platform to use. Now, yes, we can lean on the development team to provide some insights, but it's also good to understand what are the different options. If you without getting into the too technical side of it, what should be considered when looking at now the platform selection?
Look, there is lots of factors involved actually platform selection, and mainly the owner actually, if he's a non-tech owner, it is not their part actually to take a decision actually what kind of platform they have to choose. But although they had to know actually what kind of platform is available and what is the benefit, what is the pros and cons of in each platform, and what is the best actually for them. So there is one actually, first of all, actually native platform. So you are in Android and in iOS, you are developing in a native application in a Swift or in a Kotlin, you are developing. Okay, and there is another is a hybrid platform. So you are developing in one platform like a Flutter, and then you are converting for the Android and you are converting for the iOS. There is a web platform is there. So you are making a web-based application just like a React, and you are making a converted actually for the Android, converting for the iOS. And so that is the another platform is there. But every platform has their own strength. Yeah.
Yes.
Native always be very strong. What actually we feel in some particular work. So whenever you want to actually deeply involve with the device, at that time native you definitely need to use. Suppose now you want to make an e-commerce platform. Yeah, it's not too much dependent on your hardware. It just only maybe sometimes only for a few moments it needs actually to check your GPS, nothing else. In that case, you can easily make a hybrid application. So what happened in the hybrid application? You are developing the application one time and you are just converting for Android and iOS. So you don't need a developer for Android or iOS. You need a one developer who can actually manage one platform, and the costing is actually simple. Yeah. Okay. Now, it is actually need to be installed. So then the web platform is there. So what is the benefit actually there? Is that so you are developing a application that is run on the website, and the same website, if you run on the browser, you can run on the mobile browser. It will give you option to download as an application. It is not actually the application. It is running inside a browser, but it will give you a feel that okay, it looks like an application. But what happens? So browser, the processing power is actually very less. Memory power is very less. So that kind of barrier will come up. So if you are thinking that okay, there is not too many information you are going to show. So people are not searching too many things like e-commerce. People are searching, showing lots of product. You just need to show only few information. In that case, you can actually go for this kind of platform. Suppose you are only booking for an event. Only one event information you are going to show. So maybe only 5 to 6 pages is there. Nothing, not more than that. In that case, you are going for the PWS, actually, progressive web application. So those kind of things you can use.
Absolutely. So that's why it's important to have a good understanding of how the application is going to be used, right? Because each of these has different, as you said, strengths, some from a performance perspective, some cost considerations can be given as well. Because if you're developing on a native compared to a hybrid, there's a difference from a cost perspective. So these are the elements that needs to be taken into consideration. But as we now get into the next side of this, which is now that you've understood the development team, which is a platform that you want to create, now you're getting into the wireframe and prototyping. So this is the exciting part because it's now bringing the project to life, right? But there's different types of wireframes and prototyping that can be done as well.
It is actually different way actually you can actually do it. So now what happened actually so far? So you already have a team and you already discuss with the team. You already share your idea with the team and you already discuss what kind of platform you are going to develop. Yeah. And now the time is actually start doing the real development work. So you already give the idea. So they know actually what is the use case. And based on that, they are going to actually show you a design. And the design will be looks like actually something like this. You can see it just looks like a black and white diagram. And on this black and white diagram, actually all are placeholder actually. This gray color is actually for, you can place any images. You can place some icon. You can place some content. So how it will be looks actually, how you actually placing the content, it is just only showing that part. It is not a real design, but it just gives some idea actually that okay, how to make the application.
Sure.
How can you actually play with the wording, play with the space, that kind of thing actually will give you some idea. But the moreover, it will give a blueprint to the designer. So to start working on the project.
Yes.
So after these things, then the user experience team are coming up and the real designer team are coming up. What they do actually, so based on this, so they start designing a real actual application. If you see this diagram, you can see this is a colorful diagram and all the icon, all the text actually all right in a proper way and how it is showing every step is properly done. So this is the design, actually the prototype design. So this one we are actually giving to the customer. And how we are giving every page are linked properly. So if you see any button, if you press it, it will actually go to that pages. So we just link it up all the pages. And whenever you are downloading this design on your phone, it looks exactly like a mobile application. So you can actually feel that okay, how the application will looks like with this design, and will it actually give a appeal actually to the customer? Will it satisfy their customer or not? You can actually feel it.
Now there's an important point here, right? You're reaching the stage where you can get that application on your phone as just a prototype. But to what extent can now this be used as an MVP during investment?
Yes, that's This is the one actually. So why we are making it as a linkable so that they can actually share with the multiple people. So what we are always saying to the customer that, okay, whenever you have the MVP, send it to at least 15 people. Yeah, if they like it, if they know how to do the whole operation, then it feels that, okay, this application is actually good application and it is usability is good. And based on that, okay, so that's the MVP actually part. This is not a real MVP, it's a design prototype, but this prototype will help them to understand actually market how they were going to accept it.
Sure. Okay, that's fantastic. So now that we've got to the actual wireframe prototyping, now it gets into really how to apply the logic within the back end of the system, which is down to some of the architecture. Okay. So let's get into the application architecture, and I think there's three key types of architectures here, right? So
that is depends on actually the development company to company.
Okay.
Yeah, it is not a fixed. So the in our company we are actually following in one way. Some other companies they are following some other way. It is depends. But how we are actually are doing it? First of all, actually is a layer based actually the architecture we are doing. There is a 3 layer we are making. You can see actually on the diagram there is a presentation layer, there is a business layer, and there is a data layer is there. So presentation layer is used actually to present the application to the people. Yeah, just now we showed you the design. So that design actually on the presentation layer. So whenever the user interaction, everything will be done on the presentation layer. Then there is a business layer is there, that is in the middle of the presentation and the data layer. So okay, before that I'm just explaining the data layer. Data layer is actually, you can say, as your database where all the data is going to be stored. Yeah, so you are storing different data. In the business layer, what we are doing, so whenever the customer actually requesting for any information, business layer taking the information from the data layer and actually process it and actually present it to the presentation layer. So all the logic we are actually keeping on the business layer. Okay. So how we are saving the data, how we are retrieving the data, how we are showing the data, everything is on the business layer we are placing. So what happened in that case? So in future, if our logic is going to be changed, we are not going to change our presentation layer or data layer. We are directly working on the business layer. So every part is separate and no one actually interacting with the other part. So it is easy actually to manage it in future. So why now the question is actually why we are talking about the architecture. Architecture is very important for application because the application is not for one day. So you are making application, you run it, it will be run for the several years. And that time, every month, every few months, you need to upgrade it. And that actually we have seen actually all the company doing. How easy to upgrade it? So you need to make your architecture in such a way that okay, you can easily upgrade it in any time. So that's the way why we actually using this kind of architecture. But it is not that okay, this is the only one way. So there is a different actually architecture and different way of development is available.
Absolutely. But now it comes to, you've got the application, but it's going to interact with multiple other platforms, right? So there's a number of API development that needs to take place. Now, maybe let's just quickly break it down in terms of the API development. The API is pretty much the gateway between the application and the databases to an external provider and their systems as well, right? So what are the key elements insofar as this API development that needs to be considered?
Okay, so how the API is work? API means actually the application programming interface. Yeah. So what has happened here? There's a different types of APIs. There mainly we are working on the RESTful API, RESTful API 2 actually, which is actually more secure. That's why we are using it. So if you see this diagram, you can actually understand easily. So you can see there is an Android app, iPhone app, or the browser app is there. Yeah, that is actually the application. And there is another section you can see there is an app server, that is actually your cloud server. So cloud server need to be connected with your mobile phone. So how that connection will be happen? So this connection we are doing through the API. So API has a different options. Suppose it can be the get method, post method. There is a put option, there is a delete option, there is a different operation you can actually do in the API. So this API is actually a bridge between your cloud server and the user interface, that is the mobile. So this API need to be very much in security wise, it need to be very much strong. Otherwise anyone can hack because the data is passing in, moving in there. and it need to be very fast. The response time need to be very fast. And I told you that, okay, security, that's why we are using the REST2 API. The data response need to be very, very fast, and that's the thing actually we are working on here. Okay, so now we have an API. So you are passing some data, and based on that data, it is going to the server. From the server, it is collecting some data and passing back to your mobile application. But how is passing this thing? So we are using the JSON format. Okay. Yeah, in a JSON format, we are passing the data. There's a different actually option is there. JSON is actually the one of the option. The swap is the one option. XML is the another option. So in different way, actually we can pass the data. But maximum in our application, we are preferring to use the JSON. Before actually SMPP was actually very popular format of the passing the data, but we are avoiding it at this moment.
Yeah, because I think that's become sort of an industry norm as well amongst other providers.
And in different sector are actually using a different format.
Yeah. So very briefly as well, because there was another element which is the database designing. Now we briefly touched on it, but ultimately there's two sides to this, right? It's the server side and the client side.
Yeah.
And to what extent you need to design these databases for each.
The database is actually two databases there always whenever we are developing. One is actually on your mobile side. We have one database. So what happens? So whenever maybe sometimes it happens that okay, there is no internet connectivity. So you are not able to talk with the cloud server.
Yeah.
So in that case, what happened to your phone? Is it going to be shut down? No. Or is it going to be actually not storing anything? It is just freezing? No. It needs to store the data. So that's the reason we are using a small database inside the phone. So it will storing the data there. If there is no connectivity, real-time connectivity is there. And there is another in the cloud side, we have a huge amount of data we are actually storing. So the API is connecting. So whenever the internet connectivity is established, the API is passing the data to the cloud server.
Sure.
And on the cloud server also, we are trying to use a tool, mainly actually the RDBMS, Relational Database Management System. We are always using it. Now, another one is very, very popular, is object-oriented database platform. Yeah. So suppose we have a unstructured data. Unstructured data means suppose in a social media, we are posting something. There is no relation actually. We are posting, you are writing in one way, I am writing in other way. So we are making actually the post, right? So that kind of data we are actually saving in object-oriented and database.
Okay.
Yeah. But whenever we know that, okay, there is some structure is there, suppose a company, there is a hierarchy is there, there is some other people actually inside that. In that case, we are using the RDBMS data.
Okay. No, fantastic. Yeah, that's just, I mean, it's good to understand the actual database design. Okay, now that we've got the databases that's designed and architected, now we get into the admin panel development.
Yeah.
Now, this is the admin panel that an organization can use to understand key statistics about what is happening in the operation. The admin panel will give them the dashboards, reports, and everything that they need to monitor, but also manage the application from a content perspective as well, right? So I think this is something that is critical and a critical element to the development process. Further to that, is there any specific element of the admin panel that you see that's quite critical?
No, the main another important element is the reporting, and all analytics tools need to be linked up properly there, so that what is happening on the application, how many people are browsing on each page. All this information needs to be come to the dashboard. Yeah, come to on the admin panel.
Absolutely. And once again, I mean, the admin panel should be a place where you can easily access all of the information.
True.
So now that we've got the admin panel in place, now it gets to the main part, the app development, right?
Yes.
So effectively, it's about making sure that we developing the application in accordance to the kind of wireframes, vision, all of the documentation that has been created.
Yeah.
What are some of the other key elements now that we need to keep in mind here?
Look, whenever we are the developer are going to develop the application, we always recommend actually to start developing the Android application here, because Android application is very easy to develop and easy to actually deploy and to test it. Once it's developed, the same kind of replica you have to make for the iOS. So always we actually in the Royex, we start with the Android development. And whenever we are developing actually, so we are always actually caring few things. The design element need to be always in a better, and also it need to be responsive. It may be actually sound actually different. Suppose whenever we are making a website, we are always talking about the responsive thing because the browser and the mobile and this kind of thing. But in the mobile application also, there is a different size of mobile application. So the mobile application should be responsive. Yeah, that's very important. And whenever you are designing a mobile application, that based on your quality of the work, the heaviness of the application, is depends, how easy it is, how frequently it is, how easily every beat actually is moving. All depends on how you're actually designing the application. So the structure of the designing need to be is very important and need to be followed properly. There are different kind of structure is available for developing the mobile application. So in the Google also following something, and Apple actually are also giving some new structure. So you need to follow any one, which is any latest one, and you have to develop application in that format.
Okay, fantastic. Now that we've got the application developed, I think it's very important that we look at the next step, which is the documentation. Yes. This is a critical component, as much as people don't really like to do a lot of documentation, but you need it. What are some of the key documentations that are needed at this point?
There are several documentation is required. As you said, actually, people don't like it, but in our company, we follow actually. We are just preparing some documentation like project documentation, process documentation, requirement documentation, UX design documentation, and app architectural design documentation, source code documentation, quality assurance documentation. Is a QA documentation. It's not a testing document,
Okay.
And user documentation, system administrator documentation, marketing documentation. So all those things we always prepare whenever we actually finishing the project. It is very important to keep it. Even the marketing also documentation we are keeping at this stage, because you are giving some kind of marketing element on here. Suppose if just like a taxi application, if you are actually sharing with other people, if they actually use it, you will get one free ride, right? So this kind of marketing element, if you are actually using in your application, it needs to be documented, so that whenever the marketing team comes, they know exactly what kind of element you have on the application for the marketing. So everything, suppose the end user, what kind of end user, how they can actually use the application, what you have done. So that this documentation is very important. And all this documentation is important for the tester also. So that's why before actually doing the testing, we actually prepare the documentation so we can hand over all this document to the testers, so they can do the whole process.
Because that's the next very important step, right?
And what happened on there, So because how we are treating the tester, if we if our developer do the testing, what happened? He exactly know what to do. If the owner is actually doing the testing, they exactly know what should be there. So they will not test it actually properly. So what happened? We try to bring a new person, and we just give some documentation that, okay, this is the thing we have done, and now do the test.
Yes.
Okay. There is some testing is a blind testing. So blindly, they don't know anything. They just do the testing and they give the report. And there is actually documented testing, means actually they are going through the document and then they are doing the testing. So that's the way we actually manage the testing.
Absolutely. But let's also talk about the fact that testing is key to identify some specific bugs that may occur, which can be handled, but also, and more importantly, to understand the operational side of it. Because once it's given to users to test from a live perspective, then there's an understanding of maybe there's something that may have been identified as an incorrect flow in some sense.
It can be. So that's why we are doing the functional testing. So there are different ways of doing the testing in the functional testing, like unit testing, smoke testing, sanity testing, integration testing actually, white box testing, and black box testing is there, user acceptance testing, and regression testing. So different level of testing, and different testing actually give you different kind of result. Actually, based on actually the project, we actually suit which kind of testing we have to do on the application. That's what we are doing. And after doing these things, so this is the functional testing. So we exactly know we have a documentation, and based on this documentation, we are doing the functional testing, because this is the known thing. There is something is actually non-functional testing. Like we don't know actually what. Suppose the usability testing. We build a whole application. Now a disabled person actually comes to the open your application, and he's not able to see properly, right? So that kind of thing. So there is an option that, okay, you can actually analyze actually your font, analyze your button, everything. So that kind of feature need to be there, someone is not able to listen properly, right? So there should be some way actually to him to actually interact on the application, right?
Exactly.
So this kind of usability we are doing. There is security testing, which is not the part of the functional testing. So, by default, we are feeling that okay, the security is fine, but it is not. What happens if 100,000 people actually come to your application at that time? How it is happening? And what happens actually if they are doing suppose DDoS attack? Yeah, what is going to be happen? So that is the security testing we actually do it. There is a performance testing is also is important. So how it is performing in different environment. So that's the kind of thing also we are doing the testing.
Okay, fantastic. I think now once we've got the well-tested application, we are ready to publish into the market. Publishing the application, it requires specific things as well, right? So, things like a particular icon or a URL. What are some of the other important elements that we need to consider with that? From what I understand, I think it's very important that you've got the title, you've got the URL, you've got the logo. Developer description is also important, as well as screenshots of what the application would look like, as well as the video. A screenshot and the video is very important. Just see actually, whenever you are downloading the application, you first see actually the logo, how beautiful the logo is. Is it actually going appealing with you? And what is the video is there? So you instead of downloading the video, downloading the application, you first run the video. You see actually, is it helping to you or not? And how easy it is to use So this video is very important. So you have to use some professional actually to make the video. Absolutely. And all this information is helping for you app store optimization. All those things. The icon, the title, the description, the image, the video, everything is helping you in app store optimization. And I think there's one last step that needs to happen here. Once it's published, there's a little bit of field testing that's needed in order to make sure that once it's live, it is working in accordance to what was the objectives that. So what happened in the App Store? Whenever you're publishing it, it is not going to be published immediately. There is some different stages there. So in each stage, you can add some people there. So before actually launching, so you can add 15 people. And those 15 people can download the application, they can do the test, and they can give the review actually immediately. And based on that, you can actually publish to the other bigger audience. And once you get a good enough review from them, then you can publish for the public. Absolutely. Yeah. So that is actually we always do whenever we are launching any application. And moreover, we do our own field test actually. Suppose whenever we are running a taxi application, developing a taxi application, we always do some testing as a driver, as a user, and we just do a physical ride with the application with our own vehicle, and we can see that how easy it is and how you feel. Exactly. So that is the development stage. This is the crucial part to ensure that ultimately your application is published and working in a manner that you need it to work. So this was the second stage of 3 stages. The last stage, which is the post-development stage, is something which we'll discuss in the next episode. Thanks so much for watching. Really encourage you to comment where possible, and we can certainly look at answering some questions in the future episode. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.